Welcome back to Beautiful Work, Beautiful Life. I'm back with my partner, Laurel. Laurel, I'm so glad to be back with you as always.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
It has been delightful to have this time together again.
Yeah. We've had kind of an intense conversational beginning to our fifth season, you and I chatting it up. I think we've missed it, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
I
So
do.
we have unconsciously organized it so that we could be back together and chit chat a little bit more about what we love to talk about, which is inner work. So if you're new to the podcast and you're wondering what we're going to do here, we're going to talk about inner work, which we call beautiful work, which we believe once you've engaged in it long enough that it will create your beautiful life. And we had a great example of that on the podcast this month with our guest, Tara Eschenroeder.
Yes.
She is such a bright light. I got to tell you, I said this in her introduction. I just have to repeat it again. I took one of her yoga classes. That's one of the first beginning of when I met her and got to know her a little bit. She was like a beam of light at the front of the class. I've never experienced anything like it since. She just has this light that comes out of her when she's leading the class that is like nothing else. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit connected probably to our topic today.
I think it is.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do. Tell everyone what our topic is today, Laurel.
Yeah, so our topic, interestingly, today is the courage to trust your body's wisdom.
Ooh,
And
this
I
is going to
think
be a
that's the light that comes from her, is that she does trust her body's wisdom when she's up there on that mat in front of the class. It's like shining out of her.
well,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say she may trust her body's wisdom even when she's not in front of that class, right? Because
Yeah.
what we know about trust and building trust and trusting your body's wisdom is the more that you practice trusting your body's wisdom, just like the more you practice yoga, you
Yeah.
you can tap into it and benefit from it and share it with others really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. We wanted to expand our conversation with Tara, Laurel, and I to talk about today this topic because, when I talk to Tara, because she's so steeped in yoga practice and is such a seasoned instructor and leader, we use that as our example, right? Of this idea of coming back into your body and really living in your full body and then growing to trust it. And yoga as being one pathway to that, right? It's
Yes,
just
yes.
one. It's just
I
one.
I
Yeah.
think that was one of my most influential pathways to really beginning to feel my body. I know I've
Mm,
said this in past episodes, but when I was working in my corporate job and it was very demanding and very stressful, and I really had shut off my body's wisdom because
mm,
I couldn't listen to it, or maybe it was that if I spent too much time in my physical body, I would begin to notice all of the warning signs my body was giving me
mm.
that the way I was living wasn't in alignment, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
remember really telling people, in fact, it was probably my energy practitioner, that there was a time in my life where I couldn't even feel my heart beat if I put my hands on my chest.
Wow. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was really disconnected.
Yeah.
And so yoga, and yoga does that by bringing us back into our body using the breath. We learn how to connect with our breath and deepen our breath and feel our breath in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
it introduces, you know, tapping in and feeling your body.
Yeah, yeah. And connecting that movement of the body with the breath. I know in Tai Chi it was the same where we were synchronizing the movement with the breath. And so that brings your awareness, from the breath then into the full body experience. And embodiment work, when we talk about this, trusting the body's wisdom, we have to be in our body, right, to be able to hear our body's wisdom. And I love, Laurel, your vulnerability and just telling people, like part of the reason I probably disconnected or didn't want to hear what was coming from my body is because they were probably warning signals, that
Yes.
I was out of alignment. And
Yes.
I think that's true for all of us. I think that, if we're in an unhealthy marriage or an unhealthy friendship consistently that's we're attached to or whatever, that we're in work that, really, really misaligns with us when we're not taking care of our financial life and we need to be, and we don't want to look at the checkbook, and we want to disconnect from the feelings that we know something, I'm not handling this well, right? Your body knows something's wrong there, like all the ways that our body can be signaling to us, wait a minute, look at what you're doing, think about what you're doing, pay attention to what you're doing, get here now, look in front of you, what are you doing,
Yes.
and we disconnect. Yeah.
We do. And, I think the culture that we live in, which is we are rewarded heavily for our cognitive ability, using our heads,
Yeah.
that we process everything through our head. And that actually adds to the difficulty in tapping into your body and really that embodied self-awareness.
Yeah.
Which now that I say those words, it reminds me one of the courses I took through Coaches Rising, which is a education, I don't even know what I'm going to call it, a community, an education community for coaches worldwide. It was a class called Embodied Self-Awareness, where it really taught us to help, guide our clients back into tapping into their body and being able to listen to their body as a form of intelligence. And you and I have talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about it on a recent show too.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So there's so many things I'm going to say right now for the show notes. Our listeners, if you haven't
Yeah.
listened to the episode with Tara, we'll put that in the show notes.
Yep.
And, when I think about some of the other things that we're talking about, there are a lot of resources
Yeah.
that we can share to help people come back into their bodies.
Yeah. And I want to, address a couple of things. So one of them is the beginning of this process of re-embodiment, right? The normal pathway I found with clients and for myself and for friends, whatever, it has been the beginning of the work tends to find us with a lot of resistance to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
tell it, how does that resistance show up?
Yeah. So there's lots of ways it shows up, right? One is I have a pain in my back, so I don't want to go in there. I'm just literally I need to distract myself, or I just need to take an Advil and forget about it for a while, right? So that's one way. Literally, it's
Yes.
just like I don't want to feel the pain, so I'm just not going to.
Yes.
Right. I think other ways that it shows up is kind of this idea of, well, I'm not really going to know. Well, like I get a lot of messages in my body. How am I supposed to know what's the wisdom and what's just my fear talking or whatever, right? And so it's kind of a waste of time. And I know, yeah, there are subtleties between excitement and fear. So it's going to take a while for you to actually discern which is which, maybe.
Yes.
There's a lot of that goes on. So the beginning is trusting that you will come into your body's wisdom. But first, you got to remember that you have a body. You have to feel it.
Right.
You have to make friends with it again.
Oh my gosh, do you ever, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because when you said, this resistance shows up, one of the things that was coming up for me is welcome the resistance as a message that you have trust work to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because often, what's behind the resistance is not just the lack of knowing how, it's the trust and not trusting your body.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, for many of us, it's fear of having to address things that we don't really want to address, that feel too overwhelming or too scary. And so we resist, the reality of getting back into the body and having the body begin to, really send clear messages. This is not healthy for you. Right.
And it can be, unsettling, maybe is the word I want to
Hmm.
use.
Hmm.
Because when you think that our body stores the energy of emotion,
Mhm.
right? And we hold on to difficult experiences
Mhm.
by, hiding them in places.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's hard to face, well, now that I've pushed all those emotions deep inside me, I am going to get in touch with my body and let them come out.
I know. I know. And yet, I will say for anybody who's listening to us, if you're scared or you're relating to this and you're thinking, yeah, yeah, that's why I don't want to do this, is, and we talked about this, Tara and I on the show, was both of us, having a really intense release while we were doing, for me, it was Tai Chi, for her, it was yoga. And afterwards, so it's scary when you get overcome with emotion and you're
Yes.
just doing a practice. You're like,
Yes.
what the heck?
Yes.
Why is this going on? Right. And it's scary because you might not even have any sense of anything about it. You're just suddenly overcome with sadness or grief or anger or whatever.
Right.
And yet, if you let yourself feel it and you sob, you rage, whatever it is, right? It is a huge release. It
It
is a
is.
letting go of something that you've been holding onto and dragging around as a heavy burden, whether you've been aware of it or not. So every one of those, for me, in my experience, has been I get lighter and
Yes.
lighter and lighter and clearer and clearer and clearer.
And it's true. I think about this with yoga in particular. You know, I mean, the emotion that comes, through a practice. I once went to a class that was really a hip opening class.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of emotion that came
Yeah.
out of my physical body
Yeah.
in the form of tears. I didn't name it sadness or grief, or I didn't name it specifically, but I knew it was emotion that I've carried in my hips for a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting because from that experience, I now have this practice when my hip is cranky, which is what I refer to my hip when it
Mhm.
is not feeling great. And my crankiness in the hip is usually in one side or another. It alternates.
Mhm.
But I know that it is simply something moving in there, some emotion, some energy. And I put my hand on my hip and I ask it, what does it have to tell me?
Mm.
And so by doing that, it really does just acknowledge my physical being and the emotion that I've stored I've hidden away in my
Yeah.
body.
So interestingly, what was coming up for me while you were saying that was I was imagining everybody out there who has problems with migraines going into their dark space, taking care of themselves however they do, and literally putting your hands on your head or near your head and just saying, what is my head trying to tell me? What does this pain in my head want me to know? What is you know, like if we could approach every ache and pain and crankiness, from within in that way of what is it trying to let me know? Like I know I always love this line from Tai Chi. Your body is a self-healing, self-regulating organism. And if you give it the opportunity, it will self-heal and self-regulate and come back into balance,
Isn't it
homeostasis, whatever it is,
amazing?
right? Yeah. And so anytime that we have an ache or a pain or a signal that something's not right, it's the call from the body that we need to give it the opportunity, which means we have to shift and change something in our lives, maybe what we're eating, maybe who we're talking to, maybe how we work, maybe how we stay up too late, maybe the TV I don't know what it
Maybe
is.
all of it.
All of it, right? Yeah, but we need to shift and change something so that the
We do.
body can come back into that
We
self-regulated,
do.
yeah,
And
place.
it's so interesting that, in talking about this and thinking about my life, there was a point in my life where I took pain reliever every day.
Yeah, yeah.
I, it might have started with a Tylenol or an Advil or whatnot, and then went to Excedrin migraine, and every day,
Mhm.
some days more than once a day.
Yeah.
And I don't know the last time I have now in my, in the change that has happened in my life. I don't know the last time that I took a pain reliever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
amazing, isn't
it
it?
is
Yeah.
amazing because I was a woman who I had it in my desk, I had it in my glove compartment, and I had it in
Yeah.
my bedside table. It was readily available
Yeah.
because I had a lot of headaches,
Mm. Yeah.
and I remember getting to this point when I would always remind myself that, any pain in my neck, my shoulders, I would tell myself was from carrying the weight of the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Any lower back pain, I would remind myself it's the lack of support.
Mm. Yeah.
Anytime I have pain in my ankles or feet, I would say it's because you are gripping the ground like Curious George, right?
Mm.
Holding
Yeah.
on tightly to the
Mm.
ground under my feet. And just the symbolism of those things has helped me now. I'm so aware when my neck, is cranky. And at the very beginning, before it becomes a pain, I know.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
what to change in my behavior, in the way I'm sitting, and what I'm eating, how I'm sleeping, all of those things.
Yeah. And that came with time and practice, right?
It
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, it just reminds me that we have to start small,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I want to say to anybody who's beginning and you're listening to the podcast and you're kind of like, oh, I'm really resonating with this or something's here for me, right? One of the resources that I'll offer you that is something that I've been using for well over a decade with clients is the book You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And in the back of her book is a chart where you look up, where whatever the pain is in your body, it's listed there, where the pain is, and then in the middle, it gives you an emotional reason that the pain might be there, and then the mental or the affirmation adjustment, right, to tell yourself, to say to yourself, to come to believe in order to correct that misalignment internally, and all the years I've been using it, and all the years I've used it for myself, family, friends, clients, right? There's not ever been anybody who's ever I've read the chart to and said, oh, that doesn't sound right. Everybody's like, what? Oh, yeah, right? They can really relate to it. And so, if you want to have something to start to begin to explore, a way to explore that has a lot of validity, a lot of people have used it, millions of people over the years. Louise is very well read. And respected. That's a great resource.
Great resource.
Yeah, great resource to start to, acknowledge, like, if we're going to trust our body's wisdom, the beginning is saying, my body is trying to tell me something by the discomfort I'm in, by the messages I'm getting, by the ping, pang, pongs, whatever it is, right? These are valid messages, and I just need to learn how to read it and trust them.
Yeah. And then the other piece, this just came up to me, or came to me, which is a little bit comical, but when I eat garlic,
Mm,
not just a little bit, I love garlic, but when I
yeah,
eat too much garlic, I, garlic comes out of every pore.
yeah, yeah,
And for me, when that happens, it's a reminder, oh, my body's telling me I ate too much garlic, and my body shows me, like, it has a way of bringing information to me.
yeah,
And so knowing that my body can do that, and that is true,
yeah,
right, has taught me to trust that my body can bring other things forward for me
yeah,
and
yeah.
tell me what is going on.
And I would say the foundation of feeling like you can relax into your inner work is really trusting yourself in it. you know? And so, I think the podcast today, really, our message is, if you feel like you're beginning inner work or you're stuck in your inner work or you're wondering what's next or how do I proceed in a way that might be new or fresh to, bring new life to it or whatever, this idea of really coming back into this embodiment work and beginning to explore the wisdom of your body is such a beautiful pathway to self trust.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. And I just want to remind our listeners, if the starting point is befriending your body before you can trust your body,
Hmm.
I think it was in our first season, one
Yeah.
of the meditations I did was on gratitude for your body,
Yeah. Yeah. You
right?
have a
And
couple
so
beautiful meditations, I think, on coming back into your body. So we should probably check in on those and put those in the show notes. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
put that on my homework list, Laurel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's great. That's great.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
think trusting your body is a big part of being able to listen to your body's wisdom.
Yeah, and to be confident in what your choices are. I do really truly believe our confidence comes from this idea of really trusting ourselves and becoming internally self-referencing, right? Like I'm going to check in with myself and see how that feels. I'm going to check in with myself and feel if that's right for me. I'm going to check in and, like this checking in, this
Yes.
coming back and really checking in and trusting that you do know. And I think that was what was so beautiful about, Tara's message at the end of our show was really trying, saying to people, you do know
Yeah.
inner being. When you go inside there and you let yourself get in touch in there, some part of you does know. And so, to be connected to that is powerful
It
stuff.
really is. And it reminds me of, the episode when you were talking about our four intelligences, right?
Mm.
Like being able to, have some embodied self-awareness,
Yeah.
being able to really rely and trust your body's wisdom. It is honoring one of the intelligences that we have been gifted with, right? That
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well, Laurel, I feel like that's probably a lovely, hopefully, words of encouragement for our listeners out there and for those of you out there who are doing your inner work. We're so glad you're here with us always.
yes,
And so glad
yes.
that we're in this together and doing our work together and growing and trusting more deeply, in ourselves and one another who are,
Yes.
your community, Tara talked about that too, like having a community that you feel safe in and trust is, a big part of this developing self-trust too. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we are building that community, right?
Yeah.
I love being part of that community and
I do
inviting
too.
others to join us in this because
Yeah.
it's really important.
So important. Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what stage in the inner work that you're in, whether you're just beginning, whether you are, seasoned and have
Mm.
been doing it for years, it really doesn't matter what stage. The community is really an important aspect of growth.
Yeah. And I will say, as an aging woman in the world, having been aging for a while here now, that, to be in touch with your body has helped me, right, stay connected to my self care practices that really become, more part of your life as you age in order to stay healthy and well. And so, this is a part of this, the courage to really trust your body's wisdom will serve you really well over the years and the decades as you go forward if you're willing to dedicate some time and devote yourself to that. Yeah.
Such a good reminder, Laurel. Thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, Laurel, thanks for another great conversation.
As always, it
Yeah.
makes my day. Very happy to be here with you.
Me too. All right. We'll be back for more before we know it. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye.